Hey there folks, this is Random Game Channel with another gameplay tips video. So in this video I'll be going over 6 Guardian gameplay tips that hope can help you improve your gameplay. So for the first tip, like always, we're going to be going over the loadout and what I think would be like the best kind of weapons and gear that you should use. Just keep in mind, these are just my thoughts and opinions, and if you find something else that works a lot better for you, or if you prefer to use something else, that's totally okay. This is a game. You should play it the way that you like and the way you think you'll have the most fun. So yeah, these are just tips and suggestions. So the first part of tip 1 that we're going to be going over together is the primary weapon. Before we get into that though, I just realized that if you hover over this part of the table here, it actually gives you some information. I don't think I've noticed this before in some of the other updates. But it seems like with the most recent update that you get a little bit of information here, which is pretty cool. Didn't expect that. But anyways, I prefer using the Merida Mark III saw. At first, when I was playing this class back when it used to be called Bastion, I never liked it because I didn't understand the role in which this weapon is supposed to be used in. So let me kind of just break that down for everyone here. So with the saw, I like using it because for one thing, it's got a max stagger, which is great. This thing is supposed to be used as kind of like a crowd control type of weapon. But what do I mean by that? So if you are seeing a very large line of arachnids coming at you, the saw is supposed to be used to kind of, sweeping your mouse cursor and shooting the bugs across left and right like this. So if you shoot the bugs in this left to right movement, you're going to be kind of controlling that entire wall of bugs that's coming after you. That's kind of what I mean by crowd control. Especially with this stagger value set to the max, it's going to stop the arachnids for just a second. It's going to buy other troopers and yourself more time to shoot them before the bugs get into melee range. Because we all know that bugs in close quarter combat, it's pretty deadly. So why the saw over the Mark I or the CSW? Well, for the Merida Mark I, it doesn't have as high a value for its stagger. I mean, it does have a little bit of a higher range, and it's a little, well, I should say a lot more accurate than the saw, which you can see here. It's ridiculous. Well, actually, let's see. It seems to be buggy. Well, that's weird. I never noticed that before. In actuality, when you're actually playing the game, the accuracy for the saw is total garbage. It's really hard to control, especially if you do sustained fire. So I never noticed that about the charts. But coming back to the Merida Mark I, right? The magazine capacity is not going to be that high. You're not going to be a very mobile character, so you want as much rounds as you can. You want as many rounds as you can get your hands on. So even with the extended magazine equipped to the Merida Mark I think you're going to get a max of 90 rounds per magazine. It's not that much when you have the saw, like base by itself is going to be like 200 per magazine. So that's why I like the saw over the Morita, even though it's like not as accurate. We're going to be having a lot of rounds to like, shoot at the bugs with. But now you're probably thinking, well, what about, the CSW, right? Well, let's check that out. As you can see here, the damage is actually a lot higher. The fire rate is a lot lower. Which, if you have used this or you've seen other people, use this, you'll see that it's definitely a lot slower when you're trying to shoot with it. And the range, it's only really effective up to mid-range. It's not going to be able to hit a gunner bug at longer range. Unlike, the Morita Mark 1 and the Saw. Those two can hit anything at any range. It's just going to be a matter of your recoil control. So that's one of the reasons why I don't like using the CSW, is because of that limitation to the range. I mean, sure, it hits a lot harder, but I don't want to be limited to what I can or cannot hit. It just makes you less versatile on the field. And the other thing that I haven't really noticed, like this could just be like an unintentional thing, or maybe I'm just not even noticing it, but like in the gameplay that I have had with a CSW, this doesn't seem to like stagger bugs. But if you happen to notice that, definitely let me know in the comments, and share your experiences. Because from what I can tell, this thing doesn't actually stagger bugs at all. Like, it's kind of like the other E-pulse weapons. You gotta shoot it till it's dead kind of thing, because the bugs will still rush at you. So yeah. But the other thing that people have been saying is that this thing can, penetrate through bugs, which I haven't really noticed either. I don't know if it's just me being too caught up in the action, being surrounded by a bunch of bugs, but I'm not sure if that's like 100% true. So again, for that, if you do happen to notice that it does, pierce through more than one bug, definitely, chime in the comments. And if you have your own gameplay videos, I like to see that too, because I don't think I ever noticed that. So yeah, that's the pros and cons of the other weapons, and why I like using the saw. So the stuff that you want to equip on this thing is definitely want to put your reflex sight on, because it's gonna kind of make it a more clear line of sight when you're like aiming down your sights. Because when you're aiming down the sights, I don't know if you can tell, but like your range of view is going to be so tiny. It's going to be like a set of blinders, and that's just going to make it hard for you to like be aware of your surroundings. So having the reflex sight on this is actually pretty useful. I'd say it's almost crucial. The other thing you want to unlock as soon as you can is the compensator. That's just going to help with the recoil, especially if you hold down the trigger and let it go on full auto. Alright, so the next one is the magazine. The one you really want to work towards is getting the extended magazine. Sure, it's gonna like take away one magazine from your reserves, but it's just gonna allow you to shoot for a lot longer. So if you're in like a prolonged engagement and like the bugs just won't stop coming, like for example, threat level is set to max, and you're either out on the field or you're stuck in a bunker. You don't want to be stuck reloading all the time. You want to keep shooting the bugs. So that's why I like the extended magazines. So yeah. Alright, so let's move on down to the secondary weapon. Not much of a choice, but if you've seen my other gameplay tips videos, you know that I will always prefer the Emancipator. I'm not really a fan of the Peacemaker or the E-Pulse pistol from the other class. Those just don't seem to really cut it for me. I mean, if you like those, you can always use them, but I always like the Emancipator because, you know, for one thing, the range is pretty good. It's got a high stun value, so it's going to buy you time to, you know, run, reload, and help out other troopers. It's got a good damage profile. If you look at the Peacemaker, the range is a lot shorter. Sure, it's more accurate, but you're going to be doing less damage. So that's kind of like the trade-off between the Peacemaker and the Emancipator. So yeah, if you do want to go with the Emancipator, I always recommend having the reflex sight and the extended magazines on. It'll just make it a lot easier to use the weapon. I haven't been able to really level it up to check out the internal component there, but I don't think it even has one, so based on that, that's all you really need. Just the reflex sight and the extended magazines. That's all you need. Alright, let's move into the utility. So this one, I do like using the portable sentry. Just keep in mind that you know, this thing doesn't actually hurt other troopers anymore, at least from what I've noticed. So you can place it pretty much anywhere. Just try to put it in an elevated position. That way you can have a better line of sight to shoot at incoming bugs. I mean, there's like two other options for utility, but I don't really like using the shock field device because it's only going to be there for what, like 60 seconds, where the deployable shield can stay on the field indefinitely as long as you can, you know, keep it repaired. So with a deployable shield, you start off with like 3 in your you know, starting loadout, but if you go back to ammo crate and you reload everything, I believe you can get up to 6 on the field at one time, but we'll check that for sure later in this video. And for the portable sentry, if you go back to the ammo crate to reload everything, you can have a max of 2 on the field. So that's pretty cool. You can like put 2 out on the field to kind of guard a choke point or to help you guard an objective. So that's really useful, handy to use. So yeah, that's the utilities. So with the perks, we actually have a lot of different options here. I like using the synthetic under armor, the magazine bandolier, and what is this one called, the regenerative matrix. Well, let's just take a look at the first one here. So with the synthetic under armor, it just cuts all melee bug attacks in half. So you know, you are going to get swarmed, especially when you deploy the siege mode. This will just help you live just a little bit longer for you to hold the wave off, or until like a medic can come in and like heal you up a little bit. The next one is the magazine bandolier. This will just help you offset the extended magazines thing where like it takes away one of your mags. With a magazine bandolier, it'll add that one back into your arsenal, so you won't have to worry too much about running out of ammo. The last one is like my favorite, the regenerative matrix. So what this is like it gives you like an extra health pool that can regenerate over time when you're not like in combat. You kind of think of it as like a personal shield, like if you're playing like Halo or something. You know, they have personal shields in that game. You could kind of treat it like that. And what it looks like, at least on my end, is that you have your normal health bar, but it'll have like this blue highlight on the very edges of it, and that will indicate how much of this extra health pool that you have. So you're probably wondering about the other ones here. I don't like bug pheromones because, you know, you're already a very slow trooper. This is like, I think it might even be like the slowest of all the classes. And once you do go into siege mode, you're pretty much going to be in the front lines anyways, so why would you want to like make yourself take more damage, right? Because you know, if you go down, the other troopers are going to be pushed back. So I like having this not equipped because it helps spread the bugs out so you don't just die right away. So moving on to hardened ceramic plates. I was really on the fence about using this over the magazine bandolier because it just halves the damage from all ranged bugs attack. Primarily when you want to watch out for is the gunner bug, because that can just take you out pretty quick. But as long as you're like in siege mode and you crouch or you hide behind a, you know, an object or something out in the field, you should be okay. I'm not sure how well this protects you against a bombardier. So if you know anything about that, you know, you can always chime in the comments. However, if a grenadier bug does shoot at you, you're still probably going to die in one hit. I've heard people say that if you're just like on the very edge of the blast radius, you should be okay, which I think is pretty true, but I haven't really been able to test that myself. So again, if you know more about that, you can chime in the comments as well. Moving on to the utility satchel. I don't really bother with that because you could just use the ammo crate to reload the turrets and the portable shield wall. So I don't think this is very vital. And that's about it for the perks. So let me just take a quick look at my notes here. Oh, almost forgot about the grenades. So for the grenades, like you can use either the MX90 or the cluster grenade, whichever one you prefer. I just kind of like the cluster grenade because it makes a big puff cloud when it explodes. But you know what, this grenade lacks in I guess you could say a single point of damage. It makes up for splitting it up over a larger area. Whereas the MX90, it has pretty much good burst damage in one contained area. With the shock grenade though, it's only gonna just stun the bug for just a few seconds, so the bug is still gonna be alive and it's still gonna try to eat you. So I don't really recommend using the shock grenade. You want to kill something right away with grenades. I've never preferred this one or the damage over time ones. Alright, moving into special class abilities. With the heavy armor, it's just going to make you more bulky. It kind of turns you into like, if you're playing an RPG, you'll be essentially like the tank class. And for siege mode, when you deploy it, you're gonna deploy like this shield around you, similar to what this looks like. But with siege mode, when you deploy it, you're going to lose all your mobility. But what you do lose in mobility, you gain in very significant improvement in your recoil control, both in hip fire and aim down sight. And it also increases your character's defense value. By how much, I don't know, but it's enough to let you survive for at least a few seconds to like a minute if you're like completely swarmed by arachnids. So I like using that whenever I need to guard an objective or a choke point and I'm using the saw, because if you haven't already seen this thing in action, this thing kicks pretty hard. Let's see, what else before we move on? I think that's about it for the first gameplay tip. So let's just head into the training simulator and I'll go over the rest of the gameplay tips. Catch you in just a second. Alright folks, so we're back. We're in the training simulator. As you can see, I created a couple of structures, I've done a few things. So now let's go into gameplay tip number 2, which is siege mode. So with siege mode, you just deploy your key binding, whichever one you signed it to. And when you do, you can see that it deploys a really nice shield around you. You can crouch, give yourself cover from gunner bugs. You can still shoot over it. You can see when you aim down the sights, the recoil is way better than if you didn't use this shield wall. Same thing with the hip fire. It's a lot more controllable. Now if I get out of this siege mode, I want to aim down the sights. My god, look at that. That's horrible, right? It's really hard to control. You gotta fight it. Same thing with hip fire. You gotta really fight it, and it's not very accurate. So that's not really great use of this weapon. Whenever you can, try to use the saw when you're in siege mode. Now, a nice trick that I found out a long time ago, and a lot of people do this, is if you go to the very edge of say this bunker or any kind of object that has like a sheer drop off like this. So if I use the siege mode, it should not deploy a shield wall here, which you can see here. It doesn't create one all the way over because obviously there's no physical space for it, but you still get the benefit of the recoil control which is really nice. If you're at the very edge, you can shoot down at the bottom here and take care of any bugs that might be in front of you here. So those are some really nice handy tips if you didn't know about that already. So see if that can help you improve your gameplay. So another thing about this class is that you're not going to be very mobile. I mean, like you still run kind of fast, but with the siege mode, you're kind of going to be planted in one particular place at a time because your job is to kind of, guard a fixed objective. So let's kind of talk about how to use this darn thing when you do have to move around. For example, like you're in Advanced and Secure or Hive Hunt or even Arc mode. There's going to be times where you do need to, move around. So one thing that I like to do to kind of like help you keep pace with the other troopers while still be able to like shoot at bugs, especially if you are on the go, is that I like to sprint and then just kind of like burst fire a little bit. It's not going to be very accurate, but you're going to be next to the other troopers and still moving up with them. So that's one thing that you can do to kind of keep pace with everyone. Another thing you can do is just like walk and shoot while you have aim down sights. Not going to be the most accurate thing, but like you could just move, shoot, just kind of like that. You don't want to be like Rambo and just like do that. That's not going to be too helpful. And when you are shooting outside of the siege mode, you really want to fight against the recoil, and like if you're on the mouse, for example, you want to like actively push the mouse down so that you can fight this massive recoil. Like just let it go like that. It's going to be really hard to accurately shoot a bug. So those are just some small little tips I wanted to share with you for siege mode. Okay, so just going to take a quick second to talk about tip number 3. Kind of talk a little bit more about the saw and how to work around this recoil. So if you need to really move around like we've been talking about in the previous tip, just burst fire it. That's going to be enough for you to like kind of control the bugs. So just imagine that this wall right here is an arachnid. Burst fire it. Not bad. Like you're still missing a couple shots here and there, but it's enough for you to move up and just lay down some fire on the bugs. Same thing if you're in aim down sight mode. As you're walking up towards it, or if you're standing still, burst fire. 2 to 3 rounds, maybe 4 at a time. You're going to be able to put down enough fire on the bug to kind of control where they're going, hinder their forward movement so that you can keep them away from other troopers, like say a medic or an engineer that need to do their job. Another thing that's really helpful with the saw, if you're out in the field and you need to move around, crouch. So look at that, it's a lot more easy to control that recoil. This is in full auto mode. So that's when you're crouching. Same thing with hip fire. It's still pretty crazy to use, but it becomes a lot easier when you're in this crouching stance. And whenever possible, you want to reload the saw as often as you can. As you can see, it's taking forever to load this thing, right? And when you're in the heat of combat, you know, those precious few seconds can sometimes be life and death for you. So just keep those in mind, and you know, hopefully that can help you out as well. So that was just a quick little tip for tip number 3. So we're moving into tip number 4 now. We're going to talk about kind of like trying to find a weapon that works for you. And we'll start off with a saw because we currently have it equipped. So with this saw, with the extended magazine on, you're going to be looking at 300 rounds per mag. If you didn't have it equipped, that's going to be 200. But again, I really like using the saw over the other ones because if you're in like siege mode, right, you can quite effectively just sweep back and forth like this. And just imagine that this wall right here is a bunch of bugs. You're going to be controlling their movement quite effectively when you sweep it back and forward. You'll definitely see that if you do this in your own gameplay. So that's one thing I really like about the extended magazines with this thing, is like you just should be able to shoot for a lot longer. And with this extended magazine for the saw, it's going to allow you to shoot a lot longer than the Mark 1 and the E-Pulse weapon. So this is why I like the saw. It has an extremely insane stagger, which will just allow you to control the battlefield, like I was saying. Hey there, folks. So I just wanted to continue our conversation that we had about finding the weapon that best suits you. So the other one I want to talk about is the E-Pulse 88 CSW. So with this thing, if you like doing high points of damage, this is going to be the weapon for you. But the only thing you gotta watch out for, let's just go on the edge here, is that when you shoot this thing, it's gonna be super slow. I mean, look at that. Pretty slow when you compare it to, you know, something like the Merida Mark 1 or the Saw. And as you can see, it actually does push you back. So let's continue shooting it and see how severe the recoil is. I mean, look at how much this thing is like kicking you back. So imagine yourself on, like, you know, the field, and you need to lay down sustained fire. This thing is gonna be pushing you pretty far. I mean, look how far I went with just one magazine. And like I'm like halfway through this wall. So I'm pretty sure this thing will actually push you off. Let's test that out. Pretty crazy, right? You're gonna want to stay in one spot most of the time, so if you're worried about positioning, this weapon might not be for you. But I'm wondering, if we jump and shoot with this thing, how far will this thing kick back? That shoots pretty far. I mean, like, not shoots pretty far, but it kicks you back pretty far. More so than if I was just standing on the ground. So that gives me an idea. Like, if you really need to move somewhere, like, say, for extraction, and let's just pretend that the drop ship is right there and there's bugs in front of you, you can employ my running back towards the drop ship tactic that I've been talking about in my general gameplay tips video. So you might be able to get pretty good at this, like shoot and jump back. Like this thing will launch you pretty far. So that's kind of a neat trick I just thought of that can help you increase your chances of successfully exfilling. Because, I mean, look at how far this thing kicks you. This time I'm just like jumping and shooting in the air. Like this thing will probably help slow down the bugs. So that's a neat little thing. I didn't even know about that. Now let's just try to see how far this thing can actually shoot. So maybe this crate. Okay, that's kind of like mid-range. What about that blue thing over there? Okay, can still hit it. It looks like this thing's kind of exploding in mid-air, and it doesn't go that much further than the blue object right there. Well, maybe we can aim in the sky. As you can see, this thing doesn't really shoot that far. I mean, here you can still see the dirt cloud, but any further than that, it just looks like it blows up mid-air. Okay, so check this out. If you're in a situation where, like, there's a gunner bug, like, for example, on top of this structure right here, you're not going to be able to hit it because the range on this weapon is incredibly short. Now, if you're using the Emancipator, you can definitely hit it. But you're not going to be doing as much damage as like compared to E-Pulse 88. So that's a downside to this weapon. I mean, it shoots pretty hard, but if you're bothered by the limitation of the range and the fire rate and this insane kickback, this might not be the weapon for you. But before we move on to the other weapons, I also want to mention that if you turn on siege mode, you're going nowhere. So you can see you're kind of fixed in place because of siege mode, and this would be a great way to help you stay in place and help you control the massive kickback that this weapon produces when you fire from it. So that's all I had about the E-Pulse 88 CSW. Alright folks, so we're moving into checking out the Morita Mark 1 for finding a primary weapon that works for you. So for this gameplay tip, we're going to talk about the Morita Mark 1 and kind of talk about how this is like the best balanced weapon that the game has for like each class. There's a reason why this is like it's described as like the reliable staple in the mobile infantry for decades, right? That's how they say it in this game. So with this thing, when you have it kind of fully kitted out, the recoil is going to be pretty dang good. You're going to be able to control it very easily. And with the extended mags, you're looking up at 90 rounds per magazine now. So pretty good if you need to, shoot at something for a while, like, for example, an Inferno bug, Grenadier bug, Gunner, Tiger, Royal Guard, anything that has like a beefy health pool. If you have the extended mag, you're going to be able to shoot at them for quite some time. So definitely make sure you equip the reflex sight and the compensator along with the extended magazine, and I think that this very well balanced rifle can be used pretty effectively in this class. So as you can see, like with the saw, um, it's going to be really hard to control the shots with it, right? Especially when it goes on longer range. And with the E-Pulse weapon, you're not going to be able to shoot very far. But with the Marina Mark 1, you can hit this thing at pretty much any range. So like if we shoot up in the air, you can see like the rounds are going to travel for quite a while. Like you could probably even hit these rocks. It might be a little hard to see, but um, like that's pretty far compared to like all the other weapons out there. Now I'm not sure if this thing can hit that canister at this range, but like let's try. I kind of nestled it in the rocks. I probably won't be able to hit it, but you know, if this was like a grenadier bug or a gunner bug, you'd probably be able to hit something that large at that long of a distance. I have really bad aim. How about now? Most effective range. There you go. I was about to run a little further. But as you can see, you know, from this position here, hitting something that small with the Marina Mark 1, you can do that a lot more reliably than, say, like, you know, the saw, because of the saw is going to be like kicking all over the screen like that, right? So this is why I like the Mark 1. I really like using this one, and also it's like very iconic, right? Everybody who knows Starship Troopers knows this gun. Like, sustained fire, look at that, the recoil compared to the saw is like a lot better. Same thing with hip fire, not bad. Uncrouched, still pretty good. Like you can, you know, do very well with this rifle. So if you're looking for something that's like very balanced, this would be the gun to use. So, you know, hopefully that helps you out, you know, especially if you're kind of like on the fence about using either the saw or the E-Pulse weapon due to anything that you don't like about it. So that's all the tips I had for trying to help you find a primary weapon that best works for you for this class. Alright, we're going to take a second here to talk about gameplay tip number 5, which is positioning portable sentry turrets. So, for example, let's take this as our example. So if you or the team created like this kind of funnel or chokehold point where you're trying to establish like a kill zone for the bugs, a really great place to place your sentry turrets are like at the very end of this little kill zone. It's pretty effective. They're going to kind of funnel their way through here, and as they're trying to take down these short barricades, these sentry turrets will just shoot down upon them. So let me see if I need to reload anything here. So another really cool place to put them, I'm going to just climb up on this wall. I don't know how effective this would be, but you know, placing them on the very edge to kind of like attract the attention of the bugs. As soon as they get hit, they should be, walking towards the direction of fire. So that would be a nice way to kind of get the bugs to funnel in through here into this low kill zone. Either the sentry turrets will be at the front of this structure, or you could put them at the very back here. And then any trooper that's on this part of this structure can just mow the bugs down with ease. So there you go. That's my quick gameplay tip for portable sentry turrets. I did forget to mention that I wanted to combine this with a deployable shield, which is this thing here, which I do have set up over here from earlier. So let's count how many you can have on the field at once. So base value, you're going to be getting 3 of them on the field, but if you go and reload from the ammo crate thing, you'll be able to field 6 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's a nice way to kind of like reinforce your defensive capabilities. One really popular way that people use this when it comes to like base defense is when people are using a layered defense. By layered defense, I mean that if you have like, for example, this electrical fence, by itself, it's not gonna like sustain itself for too long because its health, I think, is pretty low compared to a standard wall. So to prolong the durability of this electrical fence, a lot of people put out a line, maybe even 2 of these short barricade walls. Now, if for whatever reason everyone's already used up all these short walls, you can always place your shield walls pretty close to this electrical fence. I think the distance that this thing can shock bugs, I think, is up to 2 meters, which should be probably about like right here where the shadow is. Now with a shield wall, you can stack it pretty close to each other, so you can do something like that. You'll be noticing that some of them were disappearing because we've reached our maximum value. But as you can see, you can overlap them a little bit on the edges, and you can stack them really close to each other. Now, if you have like, a couple of guardians with you, you can just flood the field with these portable walls, which will further enhance the layered defense of your base. Now, if you are defending something like, say, the silo, or whatever it's called, the core collector, what I like to do is just kind of space them out a little bit, and hopefully that'll keep the bugs off you and your team for just a little longer. And if they do destroy this thing, or not destroy, but like the bugs partially destroy it, you can always take your build tool and just like repair them, just like you would for like any structure. So yeah, that's kind of a neat trick that you can do. And if an engineer's out here and they have their little ammo utility thing, I think you can also refill the deployable shield wall that way. So there you go. That's about it for gameplay tip number 5. Alright, so we're moving into the last gameplay tip, which is gameplay tip number 6. So for this one, let me just put on a little bit of gameplay video for you, and let's end this with some nice gameplay footage. So this one will be pretty short. The gameplay tip will just, briefly talk about what you should be doing when it comes time to extraction. So far, hopefully I've been able to demonstrate to you that when you have the Mark 3 saw, or whatever it's officially called, the saw, and it comes to extraction, you're not going to be able to really keep up with the other troopers and shoot accurately. So what you need to do is you need to really rely on the other troopers to make it out alive when it comes to extracting. What that means is that you shouldn't be running out there ahead of the crowd. You need to be in the middle of the crowd, because the saw, when you're moving around with it and shooting, it's going to be incredibly hard to lay down any kind of effective fire. So if you're not really confident in your abilities to shoot with a saw in a more mobile environment, then I recommend switching to using the Emancipator. So, try it out, try to get a little practice in, and if you're still finding trouble with using the saw, definitely consider just extracting with the pistol in your hand. Because this thing, it'll very much stop a bug from moving for a few seconds. That'll allow you to run past it, or for other people to help you kill the bug and get it out of your way. So that's a pretty vital tip that I would like to share with you. Sometimes, though, you're going to get a little overwhelmed and swarmed. That's going to happen because both of these weapons by themselves are not going to be really useful when it comes to the extraction. So if that does happen, just deploy your siege mode and just switch back to using the saw and just hammering the bugs as much as you can. This is kind of like a self-sacrifice move, but the idea is that you're going to be sacrificing yourself so that the other troopers can successfully extract. This is kind of like when all else fails kind of option. That way, at least you can help your teammates make it to the extraction point. Pretty sure you won't be able to get the extraction point experience points, but it's not that much. Just start up another game and you'll be able to make the XP up rather quickly. So it's nothing to really sweat up about. So that's just my really general gameplay tips for when you're trying to extract. Of course, try to make use of running backwards towards the ship while you're shooting. They'll help you create some space between you and the bugs. But this class, I have to admit, it kind of struggles a little bit if you don't have support from your teammates to get out of there alive. But hopefully this will help you out, and if you have any tips you'd like to share for this class, feel free to send a comment in for the video and we can check it out together. But that's about it for my gameplay tips for the Guardian, and I hope it helps you out, and please enjoy the rest of this video.
Arc has been fired. Data from the seismic pulse looks good. Expect a horde inbound to your location. ETA, Now. Be advised, Arachnid threat levels have risen.
The base is under attack in the western quadrant. The base is under attack in the western quadrant.
Arc is at 25% complete.
The base is under attack in the western quadrant. The base is under attack in the southern quadrant.
Arc is reading 50% completion. Keep up the fight, troopers.
The base is under attack in the western quadrant.
The plasma bugs have been exterminated. Continue with the mission.
The base is under attack in the western quadrant.
Arc is at 75%. We're almost there, Brimstone 1.
The base is under attack in the western quadrant.
Good job, troopers. We are reading the Arc has completed its data collection. Prepare to pack up and extract.
All received. Vulture 1 inbound for pickup. It looks a little crowded down there. Vulture 1 is inbound for extraction.
seconds.
Find your assigned seating. We're returning to the Gurren now.